I want to let you see what cognitive dissonance look like. What we have here is Angela Rye is trying to explain to these folks why, or the way we view police officers, the way people of color view police officers, why they view it that way, and we also know what the genesis of the police forces are. She tries to explain that. And for all practical purposes, except for Heidi Heitkamp, it completely flew over George Stephanopoulos' head, Chris Christie's head, and the Republican pundit. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
I think what we have to look at is this verdict this week. With Derek Chauvin, this wasn't his first incident. It wasn't even his fifth. And we like to talk about bad apples a lot, but the issue is that the way the system of policing is currently set up, it doesn't punish bad systems or bad apples. Derek Chauvin, before George Floyd's 9 minutes and 29 seconds, knelt on the back of a 14-year-old black boy for 17 minutes in 2017. In North Carolina, just this week, you have Andrew Brown, the father of 7 children, Ma'Khia Bryant in Columbus, Ohio. You have Miles Jackson in Columbus, Ohio, who was shot in an emergency room. Andrew Hill dropping off Christmas presents, right? And the Columbus Police Department isn't about one bad apple. It's about an entire department. So we have to talk about qualified immunity without fighting with buzzwords, but really talking about how we solve for a system that by design from its inception was designed to capture and return enslaved people back to their masters. If we can't uproot what was intended, we will forever have this problem, and we have to be willing to have honest discourse.
Well, in the case of Derek Chauvin, the system worked because he's going to spend most of the rest of his life in jail, as he should. You know, but we run the risk of overreaction. And
Sarah, if people thought the system worked, Chauvin wouldn't have been a police officer, and
my point is that
people
the
would be alive. But my point is, this is a subject that has gone so far because of all the work that's been done. Tim Scott is a hero on this. If you ever want to hear an amazing group of floor speeches, and they so seldom mean anything, but Tim Scott did 3 floor speeches that I think helped educate the country of, as a conservative Republican senator, what he experienced from law enforcement intervention. And I think he truly can be a bridge on this issue if we lower temperatures and we start talking about how we can reform police systems, but also recognize that there's a lot of history here that needs to be
of course there does. There needs to be police reform. We all agree on that. At the same time, we can't have the White House at the podium every time there's an altercation, you know, say that it is systemic racism, because it is not. There are instances that are of systemic racism, and they need to be addressed. There are instances where a cop simply makes, in a split-second decision, a very terrible call. And there are instances when the cop makes the right call, and it's a tragic outcome. And, you know, right now, every single altercation is being presented as systemic racism, and that's just not accurate.
We're talking about, for example, with the Columbus Police Department, 30 black people killed in the last 5 years. Systemic racism isn't something that you get to cherry pick and decide when you want to apply it. It means the system at its core is rotten. It means that it has to be reimagined and revisited, as Karen Bass talked about earlier in the show, who also is a champion and a hero on this issue, having the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act pass the House twice. What is incumbent upon, I think, especially people who are perpetuators of said system, is to understand that it's not just my experience. It's not just me being emotional. There is literally trauma that I carry in my body. I encourage you all to read a book called My Grandmother's Hands by Resmaa Menakem, who talks about how we carry trauma in our bodies. White body supremacy, black body trauma, and police body trauma. It is not fair for us to allow for police officers to shoot and kill because they have an irrational fear of a black person or a person of color. That's something that has to be addressed at the systemic level.
She hits a magical problem. When police sees a black body, when police sees a body of color, when police sees a certain group of folks, they are quick on the draw because intrinsic to them, whether it is racism, whether it is irrational fear, it doesn't matter. There is a dead POC out there. Look at what happened in North Carolina. I mean, they opened up, they blew this guy away. I don't care if he was a drug dealer. They blew him away, and there's always an excuse to why it is possible or why they did it. But the killer of the killer at the church, who killed, what, 12 people or so? 9 people? I don't remember how many. Oh, they took him to Burger King. He didn't even have to. He was peacefully arrested. It's a constancy. It's a constancy. And to continuously ask people to see what their eyes are not telling them, as opposed to, this is what we see, it is open for everybody to see. That was cognitive dissonance on that panel. They were talking past each other. This is about a rotten system. And for those who think, well, it's going to be difficult to hire police officers, I wish it were difficult to hire police officers. Then we'll start sending medical teams when there are psychological problems. We'll stop all the traffic stops that we have that many too often turns out in murder by cop for a missing tail light, for a missing sticker. In the age of computer, we know when a car's sticker has expired, send them a bill. That's all we got to do. We don't have to stop them, and it's cheaper on the taxpayer as well. But understand that there is a constancy of maintaining a certain level of people under a police state. There is a reason. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.